that had broken off the weight bench on the weight pile. It was laying in the chief's office. They pinned me up in the corner, handcuffed behind my back. It was choking me with it. And I couldn't breathe, and they trying to make me say how he got out, and this, that, and the other, and what guard was involved, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, I don't know. So they never could get nothing out of me. So finally they quit beating me. They walked me back up the hall towards the inmates. But instead of putting me back in the cell with the inmates that they took me out of, they put me in a cell by myself. And they called them out one by one, and they told them, Sweatmans done snitched. And do you know that them idiots fell for it? And every one of them got a street charge for conspiracy to help somebody escape or something like that. I don't know. But long story short, when I got out, I had already had the inmate that escapes. His name's Thomas Parks. I had his contact information. I contacted his mom, and we talked to him on three-way. And I found out what happened. Check this out. These people in this prison should be embarrassed, because when they called that first emergency count and then the stand-up count, 15 minutes after, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever how long it was, but very shortly after he climbed that fence, he was walking through a country town in Louisiana, all of Louisiana, and everybody knows everybody. It just so happens on this road, there's our state prison, and then down the street on the same road, there's a federal prison. So the sheriff roll up on him, put him in the back seat of a police car, drive him to both prisons and tell him to do an emergency count. So at one time, he was sitting handcuffed in the back of a police car. They went in the prison that he just escaped while he's out in the parking lot handcuffed and told them to do an emergency count. And you know, they cleared that count, counting dummies and everything during stand-up count for 2 shifts. I couldn't believe it. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, they put me in the hole. They couldn't charge me with a write-up because I didn't do anything. But they made my security level higher, and there were days they didn't feed me. There were days they didn't give me a mat. I was so beat up that they had a note on the outside of my door that nobody except the chief of security and the warden can open my door. And they made me miserable. This went on for about 40-something days. They shipped me to 2 or 3 different prisons in the middle of the night so nobody could see me. They wouldn't let me call my family or write or anything like that. So when I finally got to the prison I was going to, it's considered a Mack. It's Concordia Parish Correctional Facility, Phase 2. I was in the hole waiting on to be placed in the dorm. And the guy cleaning the hall came to my cell. I think I'd asked him for some hot water, for some coffee or something. And when we get to talking, this, that, and the other, well, he tells me who he is, you know. And at first I didn't realize who he was, but some of y'all are going to recognize this guy because he just got released from prison. He was serving a 30-year prison sentence. His name is Mackenzie Phipps. He's also known as Mack, the Camouflage Assassin. He's a no-limit soldier. Signed under Master P's label. Back in the 90s. We just got released. He got a governor's pardon about 6, 7, 8 months ago. I just saw it on YouTube. And if Mack's listening, I want to say, what's up? It's Jason, a.k.a. BR. You know who I am. I was in the Concordia Parish with you. I'm glad you're out. And if you would, hit me up. Anyway, you know, we talked and stuff. And he became my friend. And he told me what it was like, you know, being famous and being on the #1 rap label at the time, which was No Limit, which, you know. you got to take everything everybody says with a grain of salt. It just so happened this dude was really telling the truth. Anyway, so that's what happened to me, and that was my experience with the escape of Thomas Parks. And that will show you how bad and corrupt Louisiana prison systems are. And just to add to that, I want to tell you, during my incarceration, which I haven't said yet what I was in there for, but I'm going to let you know, my dumb ass got out of the federal prison for 2,000 pounds of weed. Went out 4.5 months up, and found my dad dead, and my first wife left me and took my baby, my newborn, that was born while I was incarcerated, and it just blew my mind, and I was on drugs real bad. My dumb ass walked into a bank with a robbery note. That's where the BR comes in. They call me bank robber. And I walked into 2 banks in Louisiana in one day, and I got caught for them. That's why I could talk about them. I did my time. And, during that incarceration, you're not supposed to have fun in prison, but I had a pretty good time. I met a lot of people. And I met a lot of funny people. I seen a lot of crazy stuff. You just wouldn't believe. Dysfunctional. I mean, you just wouldn't believe. They've got prison rules where if you're a homosexual, you're not allowed to stand up and pee, which is ridiculous. And they'll beat you up for that. I worked in the law library when I was in there, and I found, I saw many. I would screen all the request forms before the sergeants and them got it. And because that was my job, not because I was being nosy. And I'd put them in the right box. And you wouldn't believe the requests where people would write and say, they won't let me stand up and pee. I need to go to protective custody. It's just ridiculous that the way they treat people in there. It's just inhumane. While I was incarcerated on the same bid, I was at Richwood Correctional Facility. Our associate warden Vault, was arrested while I was there and put on felony probation and was allowed to continue to be our warden. He just changed his title. We had one dorm that was over city inmates, and the rest was DOC. He just changed his title, warden over city inmates. But he still had access to all the DOC computers, all the files. He still called all the shots. There was only one other warden ahead of him. And then I was at Claiborne Correctional Facility. It's another prison in Louisiana. These are all private facilities. And he was a nice guy. He was probably the best warden I ever had, other than Captain Shelton at Bayou Dorcheat Correctional Facility. He was the best as far as I'm concerned. He treated me really, really good. But Warden Middleton, he got indicted by the feds for copyright infringement. Another rapper from Louisiana went to prison and found out that the warden was copying his music and selling it to the inmates on CDs on the commissary. So he contacted his lawyer. They did an investigation. Feds did an investigation, and they locked him up. Now, I can't remember what happened to him, but I think he lost his job. But I don't remember. But I was at Bayou Dorcheat Correctional Facility in Webster Parish, Louisiana. I was at all kinds of prisons because I learned law work while I was in there. I ended up getting myself out of prison 2 years early, studying law, and I had 2 lawyers look at my case. They told me there was nothing that could be done, but I did it myself. And my mom even had $10,000, and they said, "Man, we don't want to just take your money." So they didn't accept my case, even with her money. And most of the time they'll take it and tell you, "Well, I'll see what I can do," but they didn't. And I did it on my own. But you wouldn't believe the corruption there too. Look, when I was an inmate, I had a cell phone. I would ride around with the transport officer that took the work release inmates to work. She'd pick me up. I'm not supposed to leave until an hour before my shift begins, or ever how long it's going to take them, depending on how many inmates she's got to drop off. She would take all the inmates to work except me and this one inmate. His street name is D-Shot. He's from Shreveport. As soon as she dropped everybody off, we'd head straight to the liquor store. She's riding around in a sheriff's deputy uniform and a state work release van with 2 inmates. We're drinking 40s and the deputy's drinking liquor. Riding through the hood in Bossier City, Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana. We're not even supposed to be in Shreveport. We're all off in Shreveport. The lieutenant, her name Nancy Holmes, she was over the work release. She got indicted by the district attorney of Western Parish for having sex with inmates. And she would get some of the inmates in my dorm out of prison by getting her girlfriend, Teresa, the girl drove a red Mustang. I remember that. She'd go pick them up like they were going to do work. And she would take them to the club on a Friday or Saturday night. And then when they would come in, back in the dorm, she would call a breathalyzer for everybody to cover her own butt. But the inmates she took to the club, she would hold the breathalyzer up. And she'd already told them not to blow. And she'd go, you passed. And the other ones, she'd catch a few that she didn't call out that had alcohol in their breath and lock them up. She got locked up for that right around the time I was leaving. So I never found out what happened to her. But I know the day before I went home, they were booking her in the jail in booking when I got there. So, I mean, I liked her. She was cool, for the inmates anyway. But it's just, it's all about who you know, man. It doesn't have nothing to do with the penal system in Louisiana. From my point of view, is who you know, and not necessarily about being right from wrong, punishing you for your sentence. At least where I went, it was corrupt. And I wanted to tell everybody about it. And I hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. And I want y'all to download it and share it with your friends. Click the like button, the star. And I will tell y'all another story here soon. I appreciate y'all's time. I'm out of here, Jason Sweatman. Check me out. Spreaker.com, Jason Sweatman's podcast. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, and other podcasts. So you just check it out now. Thank you very much. Bye.